The Caribbean sky was a canvas of blue, stretching endlessly above the shimmering ocean, painting a picture of peace and tranquility that belied the tension brewing just beneath its surface. But inside the cockpits of two Venezuelan F-16s, the atmosphere was anything but calm. Tension was thick, every muscle taut, every sense heightened. Major Carlos El Martillo Ramirez gripped his control stick tightly, knuckles white beneath his gloves, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. His wingman, Captain Mateo Sombra Vargas, flew close by his side, matching his every move, the two jets slicing through the humid air in perfect formation. Their mission was clear: locate and escort an American warship that had strayed near Venezuelan waters. It was meant to be a show of force, a demonstration of resolve, but the stakes felt much higher. As they broke through the clouds, the vast expanse of ocean stretched before them, glinting in the sunlight, a reminder of how small they were in this arena of giants. Yet their jets, aging F-16A models, were far from reliable. Years of embargoes and limited resources had left them patched together, their systems prone to failure at the worst moments. Ramirez's radar flickered with static, the screen dancing with interference. He was forced to rely on instinct, training, and sharp eyesight, scanning the endless blue for any sign of danger. Suddenly, a faint blip appeared on Vargas's radar screen, barely distinguishable from the noise. "Martillo, I have a contact. Bearing 090, 60 miles, Vargas called out, his voice steady but edged with urgency. Was it the American destroyer they were searching for, or just another ghost signal on their unreliable radar? Doubt gnawed at them, but there was no time to hesitate. Ramirez made a split-second decision: approach low and fast, using the curve of the Earth and the ocean's surface for cover, hoping to avoid early detection. The jets dropped to 500 feet, skimming the waves so closely that their wakes trailed behind them, every second a gamble against the ship's radar. The plan was simple but risky: pop up at the last moment, get a visual on the target, and make a high-speed pass. It was a dangerous game of chicken with no room for error. Their hearts pounded in their chests as they hurtled toward an unknown threat, trusting their lives to machines that could fail at any moment. Somewhere out there, a target waited, a ghostly silhouette on the horizon, barely visible through the haze and glare. Every second that ticked by increased the risk, the tension mounting with each heartbeat. They pressed on, committed to the mission, flying nearly blind, betting everything on outdated tactics and sheer determination. The ocean below was deceptively calm, a mirror to the sky, but above, the hunt was on. A silent contest of nerves and skill. Two pilots, two aging relics of a bygone era, facing one uncertain mission with everything on the line. The American warship waited somewhere ahead, unseen, but not unaware, its sensors sweeping the horizon. The approach had begun, and there was no turning back now. Major Ramirez's attack plan was straight from the 1980s. High, low, high ingress. Drop low to avoid radar, pop up for a simulated attack. Once effective, now obsolete. Their weapons, old sidewinders and a Vulcan cannon, requiring close range. No data links, only voice radio. Easily jammed, easily monitored. They were isolated, fighting yesterday's war with yesterday's tools. The pop-up maneuver would silhouette them against the sky, making them easy targets. They gambled on surprise, underestimating their opponent. Two pilots, one outdated playbook, flying into the unknown. The sky was no longer simple. Aboard the USS Jason Dunham, there was no surprise, only data. The destroyer's Aegis combat system tracked the F-16s from takeoff, its SPY-1 radar seeing through their low-level approach. In the Combat Information Center, sailors calmly monitored every move. The ship's layered defenses, standard missiles, Sea Sparrows, electronic warfare, and the Phalanx gun, stood ready. The F-16s were flying into a web of sensors and jammers. The destroyer predicted, not just reacted. The American crew trusted their systems and training. The Venezuelan jets weren't approaching a ship, they were approaching a fortress. The difference was night and day. The outcome was already tilting. As the F-16s closed in on their target, the strain on their aging systems became painfully clear. One by one, critical components began to fail. leaving the pilots scrambling to adapt in the chaos. Ramirez's radar warning receiver stayed eerily silent. He had no idea the destroyer's advanced radar had locked onto his jet, tracking his every move without his knowledge. Meanwhile, Vargas's navigation system drifted wildly, showing them miles off course and deepening the confusion in the cockpit. "Martillo, my nav is off. Confirm our position," Vargas radioed, his voice tight with anxiety as he tried to regain control of the situation. Their radios crackled with static, making it nearly impossible to communicate or confirm their location. The pilots exchanged worried glances, realizing how vulnerable they had become. Suddenly, Ramirez's missile system failed. A dud warning light blinked stubbornly, signaling that his most powerful weapons were now useless. He was left with only his cannon, flying half-blind and nearly unarmed, forced to rely on outdated technology in a modern battle. Without warning, their radio was jammed by the destroyer's sophisticated electronic warfare suite, cutting off their last link to each other. "Sombra, do you copy?" Ramirez shouted desperately, but only static answered him, amplifying his sense of isolation. Isolated, disarmed, and confused, Ramirez climbed into the sky, a perfect target, exposed and alone in hostile airspace. The ghosts in their machines had won, leaving the pilots at the mercy of failing technology and an unseen enemy. The American ship watched from afar, its crew calm and ready, tracking every move with state-of-the-art systems. The Venezuelan pilots were truly alone, surrounded by the vast ocean and the overwhelming silence of their failing machines. The F-16s were analog relics, fast but disconnected. The pilots relied on skill and eyesight, not networks. The USS Jason Dunham was a floating data center, its power in software and sensors. The Aegis system fused radar, satellite, and ship data into a single, real-time picture. The destroyer's missiles could engage targets over the horizon, guided by constant updates. The F-16s had to see to shoot. The destroyer only needed data. The gap was more than hardware. It was the speed and reach of information. The pilots were outmatched before they even saw their target. The future belonged to the networked. The old ways were fading. The odds, Ramirez and Vargas pressed on. Systems failing, Ramirez relied on raw flying skill and courage. He pushed forward, determined to finish the mission alone. Vargas, lost and deafened by static, stayed close, loyal to his leader. They risked everything. Engine failure meant ditching in the sea. Provoking a superpower meant risking war. Ramirez embodied the old fighter pilot ideal, improvising, scanning the horizon with his own eyes. But bravery couldn't bridge the technological gap. They were relics of a fading era, charging into the unknown. Their courage was real, but tragically misplaced. The battlefield had changed. Human willpower was no longer enough. The machines and the code ruled now. The lesson was harsh. Inside the USS Jason Dunham's Combat Information Center, a sense of calm reigned, even as the outside world bristled with tension. The CIC, often called the ship's brain, was alive with quiet focus and disciplined energy. The F-16s were tracked, analyzed, and managed with precision. No panic, just procedure. Every blip on the radar was scrutinized, every movement cataloged, as the team worked seamlessly together. The tactical action officer confirmed the rules of engagement, ensuring every action was measured. The commanding officer watched over the team, maintaining a complete, real-time view of the unfolding situation. The Aegis system had a firing solution ready at a moment's notice, but the mission was clear: de-escalate, not destroy. The crew's restraint was as important as their readiness. "They're popping up," the air warfare coordinator announced, his voice steady, relaying critical updates as the situation evolved. The crew was ready, trusting in their advanced systems and rigorous training. Every sailor knew their role and executed it flawlessly. The professionalism of the U.S. Navy was the hidden weapon. Discipline and expertise forged through countless hours of preparation. Every move by the Venezuelan pilots was a test, probing for weakness, but not a direct threat. The crew understood the difference and responded accordingly. The encounter was treated as a drill, not a crisis. The team's response was measured, methodical, and calm. Preparation and discipline defined the American response, setting a standard for military professionalism. For the crew, it was just another day at the office. Routine, yet always ready for the unexpected. The real difference was total control. Confidence born from training, teamwork, and unwavering commitment. At the peak of his climb, Ramirez finally saw the destroyer. His radar warning shrieked. The Americans had locked on. The message was clear. "We see you. We can end this." Ramirez broke off, futility sinking in. Vargas followed. Their courage was irrelevant against invisible power. Back at base, the lesson was bitter, a story of malfunction and overwhelming force. The F-16s felt like antiques. On the destroyer, every second was recorded, analyzed, and used to improve. The Americans didn't just win, they learned. The standoff was more than a mismatch. It was a glimpse of the future. Power now lay in data, networks, and code. The boldest no longer win. The fastest, most connected do. The battlefield had changed forever.